Stay tuned to the end of this video for a word to our patrons. Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want to roll that 5-star. It's funny I still call this Wanted, even though I haven't done the Wanted Dead or Alive audio gag in a while, because I keep having better audio gags to do, and also I don't use the Wanted poster format anymore, because you like the other thumbnail better, which is a shame, because I thought the Wanted posters were funnier. Anyway, YouTube. Hey, we're here to let you know if you want to roll that 5-star. So, we're going to do things a little differently today. Normally on Wanted, we cover history, folklore, mechanics, and more. If this is your first time watching a full breadth episode, we've got a whole playlist if you want to check out previous servant reviews. That might be very relevant for Ashia Doman. Hey. Anyway, summer servants are usually, emphasis usually, variants of pre-existing servants without much extra juice there. Sometimes there's a little bit of extra lore or implications, but just as often, they're the way they are because of funny in-game gags. So, we're going to talk about Pretender, SSR Pretender, Limited, Lady Avalon first, and this is going to be our first time with 3 SSR Summers. So we're going to try and make shorter, sweeter videos on each one rather than one long video. Usually, for the past several years, I've lumped all of the Summer SSRs together into some different videos. You know, lumped up with the SRs and stuff like that. So we're going to try something different. I asked you guys what you want to do. And we're going to make 3 little short videos rather than one long video, or 2 long videos, or whatever. However it would shake out. And maybe I'll edit these together into a triple compilation when they're done. Let me know if you'd like to see that. I don't think YouTube would, but we'll see. But that's what you guys wanted, so we're going to see if you like it, and we're going to see if YouTube likes it, which is also important. Anyway, that's a lot of preamble for what's supposed to be a shorter skip on the video. So let's run around into Lady Avalon. So, we do actually have to preface Lady Avalon a little bit. She's going to be a pretender, and while she does have the summer servant trait, you could be forgiven for thinking she's a normal limited SSR, but this is not true. What we can definitely say is that Lady Avalon refuses to state her identity plainly. There are a lot of true name reveals and unlocks for pretenders, but not for this chick. And despite her being very Mage of Flowers coded, she claims to be Merlin's little sister, despite that being, quite frankly, impossible. She makes no claim to resemble the Fate prototype version of Merlin, despite such a character appearing in FGO Arcade. It makes you think, doesn't it? By the way, Lady Avalon's first ascension lines up with prototype Merlin's second ascension in Arcade, though there are some slight design differences. Anyway, we don't really have any explanation for why she decided to show up in Arctic Summer World. She's just here. But that's about, I think, all we can say on that subject, with a nod and a wink. And with that little tease out of the way, let's show you what the quote-unquote Arts Merlin can do. So, Lady Avalon is a SSR Pretender, like I said mere minutes ago, and our second ever. Shocking, I know, most of the Pretenders are SRs. She has slightly more HP and slightly less attack than Oberon. That technically means she has the lowest attack of 5-star and the highest HP, but when there's only 1 point of comparison and it's like 500 either way, it doesn't really matter that much, does it? She is QAAAB, with average hit counts and NP gain. Caster deck, interesting. And her NP, her Noble Phantasm, is a pretty familiar style of art support, though apparently, according to the wiki, she is the only summer servant with a support type NP. That is pretty fun. So, its primary effect is to raise the party's max HP for 3 turns based on her NP level. It starts at 3k and ends at 5k, so that's a pretty big jump. You're going to be rewarded for some extra NP levels here. It also is NP gauge per turn based on the NP level as well, starting at 5, going to 10%. Again, also a fairly decent swing. Overcharge effect is to give stars per turn for 3 turns. It starts from 5, goes all the way to 25 at 500%. So again, very much rewarding that extra effort there. So it's not like crazy, but it's still pretty strong, especially for drawn-out fights. Remember that max HP increase also heals the difference. It, like, adds 5k HP, and if it, goes over your cap of HP, it would, give you straight up. So that's very strong, max HP increases. And she has multiples. Spoilers. Actually, not that much of a spoiler. Skills-wise is where we're going to really see some good stuff here. The first one is almost literally an arts version of hero creation. You've got the 30 to 50% arts up on a targeted ally for 3 turns, 3 more turns of max HP up for that ally, though it's between 2k and 3k. Though this does mean that if you do have her at NP5 and you do apply a level 10 skill, if you get both of those in the same 3 turns, you're looking at giving an ally plus 8k HP, which is pretty stonks. It's also got the 1 turn of 50 to 100% crits up, so you're really going to juice up them arts crits. Second skill is her version of Dreamlike Charisma. It's going to be 10 to 20% attack up for 3 turns based on the skill level, a flat 20% NP battery, and also a one-time 3 turns overcharge for NP for the party, which obviously for her is pretty good, but also is handy for several other units. Friend skill is a little bit interesting, though. It does have a 1-turn invul for the party, similar to Illusion, but it has a couple of other unique effects. The first is that it has a, I think, so far unique debuff. At the very least, this is the first time it's happening, and I don't remember if anybody else has it later, which is best called NP Turn Charge Down. It's kind of like NP Seal, but not as good. Basically, it prevents enemies from charging their NP 1 tick at the end of their turn. I do believe it only does, or either I should say, I don't think it only does 1 tick. I should phrase that better. The wiki doesn't note specifically if it prevents them from, if they have a special effect to charge 2 ticks. It just in general seems like it prevents them from gaining any NP at the end of the turn. If their skills increase their charge, I think it still works. And because it is not charged down and it is not NP Seal, if the enemy is already fully charged, it doesn't do anything. Well, it does something. It prevents them from gaining NP at the end of that turn, but they can still fire their NP like normal. It's not Seal, it just prevents them from gaining the tick at the end of their turn. It will still affect enemies, though, with 0 charge. Though, keep in mind, this debuff cannot be stacked. Additionally, for this third skill, Lady Avalon gains 10 to 20% NP, based on her skill level, based on the number of enemies. I don't think you have to actually stick the debuff to get this part. It just says in the description, in the tooltips here, that you gain NP times the number of enemies. So if you're fighting 6 guys, regardless of whether or not you get the debuff to stick, she just gets like 120% NP, which is pretty good. Very much a interesting flex on multi-NP enemies, though obviously it does still mean that you can get a little bit of NP if you're facing smaller groups. Now, in addition to her pretty good active skills, Lady Avalon has a lot of passive skills. She's got Territory D for a little bit more arts, not that she needs it, you'll see in a second. She has Item Creation A+, for that debuff to stick, and she has the same Mixed Blood EX passive that Merlin does for 5% NP gain per turn, and a passive high-speed words, so she starts every battle with 20% NP already. That's right, she already basically has her append skill built in, and you still can do mana loading for another starting 10%. So that's pretty impressive as well. And also she has Independent Manifestation A, which gives her some crit damage up, and also some resistance to instant death and mental debuffs. Not likely to come up very much, but it is a cute little note. So, Lady Avalon is pretty interesting because her kit really is an updated version of Merlin, but the red effect is now blue. This is a debatable improvement, depending on your taste in the meta. So, this is arguably not better for straight arts looping. Y'all know, I'm not good at, doing the super high-def math on stuff, but I just want to say, Double Castoria has the benefit of that huge NP gain buff. You're looking at 230%, so 60% NP gain up, and obviously represents a total 100% battery charge between the two of them. But I think what we're going for here with Lady Avalon is she's more tuned in for a world of, 90 plus nodes where you can't guarantee a normal loop because you may be doing something weird like 2-1-2 or 3-1-1 or 3-2-1 or 1-2-3. We're in a world where sometimes your optimal farming nodes is not just 3 enemies 3 times, which makes arts looping really simple, especially with berserkers. But it is definitely an interesting case where Lady Avalon giving you that 1 turn of really big crit buff might actually work out a lot better, and certainly some other stuff we're going to talk about in further bullet points in my notes. So I also want to say, one of the big things holding up Merlin is that he does only offer you 20% NP battery, which is pretty small in this world. But I do want to say, now, in the current time, in a world of append skills for mana loading, starting charge CEs, more and more servants coming with at least a small battery, the fact that Lady Avalon's not a full 50% on her own is probably not as much of a deal breaker as it once was. And her arts buff does include a huge crit spike for 1 turn. And also she has the power with her charisma to deliver a overcharge buff as well, which can be pretty interesting, pretty useful for, obviously, herself, because that increases her stars per turn, but also for many other servants. That can actually complement a Castoria because you get more invuls, more anti-purge defenses that way. So when things get weird, I think she definitely has some strong potential. But if you're just farming 3/3 nodes, double Castoria is probably still more smooth brain, more simple, less fiddly, and you may already have invested in it. So don't feel pressure to change, but, you're not going to be completely up the creek if you roll Lady Avalon. I also am just also going to say, I know we think a lot about farming because that does take up a bulk of your gameplay in FGO, but I think she's going to be best in MSQ and CQ situations. She has some very good defensive options with her huge possible max HP ups, and the way her charge stuff is and her NP exists, you can probably stack her max HP buffs. She's also got the team-wide invul, she's got the turn charge down effect, which is kind of stally, and she does start with her own NP, and, has obviously a pretty big charge potential to keep your party refreshed. So that can be a great help in some tough fights. There are plenty of fights where enemies like to start strong with debuffs and stuff. So I think that Lady Avalon, can get you some juice to do some of those tough fights that are weird. And max HP is a very good defensive buff. Not as good as hard defenses, obviously, but when enemies like to ignore hard defenses or other stuff, it can be very handy. Actually, picking your party comp with Lady Avalon is very simple. She is blue. Put her with servants that use the blue. If they have a sub-theme of crits, that's an even better match. Anybody can arts crit, and that's a great way to refund NP outside of straight-up looping, especially if you're dealing with enemies that are weird or dealing with bosses with break bars or some shit. But in general, there are some units in arts that have distinct self-crit buffs or Stargather rate buffs and stuff like that. Lady Avalon's going to go great with them because she can give them a whole turn of plus 100% crit up and big arts ups as well. Your CE selection is going to be interesting. As a supporter, you most often cram her with one of your various Bond, QP, or other form of EXP up CEs, but in a pinch, there are some real CEs you can pair. Ideal Holy King or Millennium Tree, stuff that give you max HP or other passive benefits for your squad. I would also possibly recommend Prisma Cosmos or any other NP per turn CEs, just to guarantee that she's generating the big charge per turn so she can fire her max HP up and NP charge per turn even more, as frequently as possible. If you can get her NP to not loop because it's not damaging, but you know what I mean. If you can get her to fire her NP multiple times before your buffs start running out and get ahead on the stack of buffs, that can be a really big increase to your longevity and also comes with stars per turn and NP per turn. So very strong effects there. So for Ascensions, as a pretender, Lady Avalon doesn't need statues, but she does have some premium choice in mats, includes shells, pomegranates, fantasy scales, and cosmic eggs. So keep all that in mind. I feel like some people kind of ignore Ascension requirements sometimes because usually they're smaller, but hey, if you want to get access to all your skills and, those maximized stats, you do go to Ascend all the way. And you will need even more of these mats per skill, which can get pretty spicy. You're looking at, multiple stacks of each skill takes shells as well. More pomegranates, scales, eggs, and other mats. But hey, at least she doesn't use bronze mats. Now, Lady Avalon does have a few solid rate-ups if you're looking out for those. She's obviously going to debut in the start of the Arctic Summer World summer event this year. But also, she appears next year in one of the FGO Arcade collab banners. No idea why. And also, that same year, there's going to be a summer rerun banner later. So, she's got 2 next year. And this year in JP, so 2 years later, they packed her into a random Ordeal Call mission banner. Just, adding extra limited SR banners. Or limited SSRs. Though, Gareth is on that, so it does include a limited SR. Haha. So, keep that in mind. She's gotten, one banner this year, a couple next year, at least one the year after that. And also, of course, she's a limited SSR, so you will see her somewhere in all of your future Lucky Bag GSSR banners. And, assuming next year, if how it works, we're going to, get her for Destiny Bond Summon as well. Assuming they keep that up, which I bet they will, because I'm sure they made a lot of money that way. Anyway, hopefully we've delivered you your wanted good luck charm with this shortish and to-the-point episode. I do actually think talking about your mechanics took a little bit longer than I thought, but, without the other stuff, it's still probably about half as long as a normal wanted episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Place your final bets now on how many Lady Avalons I'm going to roll while trying to get Summer Gareth. And hopefully we'll see you in a few days for our next Summer Mini-Wanted thing. Also, just as a side note, if you're wondering why the thumbnail is slightly different than normal, it's because this bitch is wearing too much white. Her hair's got too many little strands. It fucks with the transparency. And also the outlines on some of the transparent expression sheets on the wiki don't come out perfectly clean for me. They get extra black pixels. I don't want to spend an hour like redrawing all these pixels and shit, so I had to do it with the background, so there's not any weird lines. Anyway, that's it. If you like this video, like it. Click the like button, specifically. Leave your comments below. Subscribe for more, obviously. We also do a podcast every week about FGO called Let's Talk FGO. That's why there's LTFGO in the name of this video, in the thumbnail, I should say. Make sure you got the bell rung for notifications so you always know when we're posting new videos or when we're streaming. Join your channel memberships for access to membership badges and emotes, and consider supporting us on Patreon to get this video early, and lots of other fun stuff. And I'll have more words for our patrons in a second, but first we're going to play a little outro. And before we finish up, I do want to real quick shout out some of our patrons. Well, all of them, really, but especially Adam DeHarp, Blacklist OG, Call Me Said, Carlos Dragon, JDV9000, Justin the Fae, Chris Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Charvor, Somebody Named Bob, and Varian the Crow. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. Thank you.